this is really a sad case. Mr. Bishop, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were boyfriend and girlfriend. You became pregnant. And you had the baby, but told him that you weren't prepared for motherhood.
That is correct.
So he went through the Lamaze classes. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Took you to the doctor?
Actually, he only attended one Lamaze class.
One. And you were there when the baby was born?
Yes, that is correct.
And he helped you during your pregnancy?
There was a period of time when we did not speak, but yes, he was there for a short time.
And then he took the baby home from the hospital?
We both went home with him, correct?
That's incorrect.
Well, what happened?
Well, I was staying with my parents because I turned my bedroom that I left into a baby room. It was totally baby room. My parents, she didn't have family. My parents brought her, and we all invited her over to the house because she was still unwell for like the next 3-4 days. So she stayed there for 2-3 days, and everyone took care of the baby. And then she went home from there. The baby stayed, a boy, yes, baby Adrian. And then he stayed with me, and she went back home.
Is that right?
That is correct.
And the baby stayed with you for about 8 or 9 months?
Correct, back and forth.
It wasn't a continual 8 or 9 months. He was back and forth between the both of us.
But he spent most of his time at your house?
Correct.
And then there came a time when you had a blood test?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Because you were seeking custody of the child?
Correct.
And the blood test showed that you were not the baby's biological father?
Yes.
Order.
It's a courtroom, ladies and gentlemen. Your lawsuit seeks damages in the amount of $5,000 for fraud, for the expenses of caring for this baby, which she took back the baby immediately after the blood tests came back. Is that right?
That is correct.
Tell me what happened, sir, when Ms. Thornton told you that she was pregnant, that made you think that you were the father.
Well, we were at Denny's speaking, and this was 10 to 15 days approximately after the time we had been together. And she'd called and said she wanted to talk, wanted to meet. We went to Denny's, we spoke, and she said she was pregnant, and she was sure it was mine, undoubtedly.
Did you tell him that?
That is correct.
And from then, we had to decide on what we were going to do. At first, we were going to work on both keeping the baby and doing some type of arrangement where we both shared him back and forth. Then a few weeks later, she changed her mind and decided she was going to give him up for adoption. That's when I had spoke up and said, if he's a child and he's my child, that I can't let that happen. I was going to have him live with me full time, and she was upon her being able to visit. I just needed some notice. She didn't have a car at the time, so I said I would do some of the transporting. I ended up doing all of the transporting, at least 90% of it.
Who took care of the baby at home?
I did, my mother, and my girlfriend here. And they're both witnesses to that.
It wasn't a few weeks after when I decided I was going to give the baby up for adoption. It was approximately when I was about 6 months pregnant, and he and I were not speaking at the time, and I felt, oh my gosh, how am I going to be able to take care of this kid? I don't have family, because I grew up in foster homes. I don't have anybody I can depend on. I don't have a car. I had a very good, stable job, but I didn't think that I could do it on my own. And then eventually, Corey and I were speaking again, and I told him what I was feeling. And he said that there's no way that he would let this child be adopted. And then that's when we decided. Corey had picked me up, and I went to dinner with him and his mother and the family at his mother's house, and we had discussed the baby living full-time with Corey and his mother, with me having visitation.
And you thought that that was a good arrangement and in your child's best interest?
That is correct. It was in the child's best interest.
Now, you told him that there was no question that he was the father.
There was no question in my mind.
Well, but you found, if there was no question in your mind, then these blood tests were wrong.
Actually, when I got the blood test, I called the hospital screaming and yelling. But I did bring my calendar from the year of that date, and it shows when I went to the doctor and found out I was 4 weeks pregnant. And if you count 4 weeks back, it shows exactly to the day that when I was with Corey.
But you clearly were with someone else based upon the blood tests around that time.
It was actually, if you look at the calendar, I was with somebody else 2 weeks before I was with Corey.
Well, that's a pretty close time frame.